Yeah, welcome to the Belly, Baby, and Kids Show. My name is Shetty. I'm known in Vancouver as a daddy blogger. I write about parenting from a father's perspective. So this talk's all about how to be a better dad. I'm going to be giving you 3 tips for being a better dad. And I'm going to be just sharing my personal story of why I became so passionate about fatherhood. But first I wanted to get to know some of the people here. So you guys are dads. Tell me a little bit about yourself and how many kids you have. And maybe your favorite memory of being a dad. So let's hear it from yourself first. Who you are, how many kids you have, and your favorite memory of being a dad.
I'm Andrew. I have 2 kids, 4-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old son. And favorite memories just chasing them around the block on their bikes and every day.
Absolutely, yeah. So just playing around with them, chasing them around.
Being a kid.
Awesome. Being a big kid, I like that too. So that's Andrew with 2 kids, and then yourself?
Alex.
Alex?
And I have 2 at home. 5-year-old daughter. And
5 and 2.
Yeah. Favorite memory? There's a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
Just playing around in general, I guess.
I think that's what it's all about though, right? It's about making those memories. It's not really what we do, it's just the fact that we're spending time with them and doing stuff with them, right? So yeah, thanks for those intros. I want to share with you a little bit about my backstory, if that's cool. And then I'll share with you some tips, and I'm going to give you both books. Just as a reward for coming here, you'll both get a book at the end. I'll keep it short, just like 12, 15 minutes. I have 2 kids. I have a 2.5-year-old you saw running around, and then this is my 11-month-old. And now my greatest passion is fatherhood and really hanging out with them and playing with them. Kind of like what you said, running around with them, just playing with them. But I want to share with you a little bit of the backstory of why I became so passionate about fatherhood, why I started the blog, why I wrote the book, etc. So growing up, actually, I didn't have a good dad myself. And my parents ended up actually having a divorce, and there was a lot of disharmony growing up. Like there was actually even domestic violence. My dad was quite violent with my mom. There was even some adultery, and really lack of harmony and a good family structure at home. So we didn't really have family dinners growing up. We didn't really have the camping trips or the road trips. It was just like a lot of fighting, a lot of like we'd all eat dinner separately. So growing up, I basically felt really insecure, introverted. In high school, I actually got voted most shy. And then there was all this fears, right, about getting married, fears of becoming a dad. And then I actually went traveling in my 20s just to kind of figure myself out. I ended up studying psychology to try to deal with, like the divorce of my parents, etc. And then, finally I got married. That was my wife there, who you saw earlier. And I basically was okay with the marriage. I did premarital counseling to be the best husband I could be. Talked to a lot of other married couples to learn from them because I didn't have that model growing up from my own parents. And then the real fears came around the time when my wife got pregnant. So now I'm just like, okay, I'm going to be a dad. Don't really have a good model for being a dad. And it was kind of like this panic mode, but I think as men, we don't really want to admit that, right? I don't know about you guys. Are you comfortable being vulnerable and like just sharing openly? No. Same with me. Like it didn't come naturally to like share my fears. And I think some of us have fears about being a dad, right? And it might be to do with the fact that we didn't have good dads ourselves. And I think a lot of us men, we don't have good dads, so we kind of replicate it. Like if we don't have good dads, if our parents divorce, we get a divorce, and we pass it on generationally. So I'm not sure about you guys. Like, how about you guys when you grew up? Did you have a good family environment growing up?
I had a good family environment, but my dad worked a lot.
Okay.
So he worked long weeks.
Yep. So very busy. So you weren't really making those memories with your dad as much. Fair enough. Yourself?
I got no complaints. He's a good guy. He's not perfect. Could have done more with me younger. That's the only thing I would say. But I'm just being picky. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
He's taking care of me. But didn't really do a lot with me, like sports-wise, or anything like that. But but I see areas that I can improve as well. Absolutely. On what he's done, but he's a good guy.
Cool. That's good. That's good you have that relationship with him. And I'm sure like your parenting has been influenced by him, right? By your dad to some degree? Yeah. And I think like if you look at like you guys were lucky in some ways because you had good dads. But if you look at, for example, the divorce rate, it's 50% plus right now. Who does it affect the most at the end of the day? Kids, right? These little guys. So they're really impacted. But you know, it's kind of like this unspoken of thing, right? It's like this elephant in the room. We don't like talking about it in public, and we don't really realize the impact it has on us, on our kids. And so it did have that impact on me. And then what happened is I really wanted to process what it means to be a dad. So I first started Daddy Blogger just for myself to process, you know, how I could be a good dad, just sharing my own reflections and stuff like that. Then I really wanted to leave a legacy for my kids. So writing memories for them, like, you know, what we're doing in our summers, our family vacations, just like even our day-to-day stuff. So I was writing that on the website. And then finally it was about helping out other dads. And it's any and all dads, you know, like they could be westernized dads like us, they could be working dads, it could be stay-at-home dads, it could be, you know, entrepreneurial dads. So supporting dads generally. So I started the blog on December 1st, 2012. So it's been running for almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years this December. And then now it's grown pretty big. I have a big following, about 15 to 20,000 views a month. And then on my social media, about 30,000 plus following the blog. And I write daily about just things to do with fatherhood. So I write about fatherhood. I also do reviews of different products and services. But again, from the dad's perspective, because a lot of them are written from my mom's perspective, right? And if you look at all the books in the libraries or in the bookshops or in the, you know, online, again, it's very much mom-centric, right? To do with like pregnancy and hormones and breastfeeding. I don't think we can identify that, right? But we want to be better dads. I think that's what we have in common here, right? So I started that blog and I write about, parenting, fatherhood. I interview other dads too. So I interviewed over 100 different dads. And then out of all those interviews, I actually put those in a book form. So that's my book over here. So that's the book. It's called Wisdom from Daddies. What I learned from interviewing 100 different dads. And it's basically just the collective wisdom. And you'll be getting a book at the end. And I want to share with you some of the tips I learned from the other dads I interviewed. So out of the 100 dads, I got obviously a lot of insights. And there were some questions that were common. Like I would ask things like, what wisdom have you learned from being a dad? And what advice would you give to someone who's a brand new dad? Because you guys have been dads for 5 years, 4 years, you know, 2.5 years. So obviously we have a little bit more insight than maybe someone who's a brand new dad, right? So, and then there's obviously some dads who've been dads for much longer, you know, like 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Some of them are granddads, right? So I tried to interview different types of dads. And those 100 dads, they're primarily North American, but I also purposely tried to interview Asian dads, African dads, European dads. So I've actually interviewed a dad from every continent, with one exception, Antarctica. So if you know any Antarctica dads, I love to interview them just because I like to hit every continent. And there's also a diversity of types of dads. So there's divorced dads, married dads, single dads, there's the stay-at-home dads, the working dads. So just a wide spectrum of different types of dads. You know, dads with like maybe one kid, dads with twins, dads with multiple kids. So just trying to understand fatherhood holistically. And in terms of the insights I learned, and the tips I was going to give you today, I would say there's 3 main tips. If I had to boil it down, like obviously I say buy my book, but if I had to boil it down into like the top 3 insights, the first one would be about really supporting your wife. And I think our role as dads is really to be that support for our wives, because usually the wives are the primary caregiver, right? They're the ones who got pregnant. They're the ones who are pregnant. They're the ones who have to go through the whole labor, the pregnancy for 9 months. Plus the labor could be a few hours, it could be longer. And then obviously they have to go through the delivery, which is tough. And then post-delivery, right? They have all these hormones, the emotions that go with delivery, the bodily changes, the outbursts. I'm sure you guys have faced that, possibly, right? Yeah, so there's some outbursts after. Sometimes they have the postpartum depression, right? So all these different emotions and stuff like that that women have to face. And what can we do as men? Basically, we can be the support, right? By basically sometimes as simple things like just giving your wife or your partner a day off, right? Hanging out with the kids. and then your wife can go hang out with her friends, or she can go to the spa, she can go for a walk. Sometimes you might be able to like help out at home, things like the cooking or the cleaning or the dishes. I don't know if you guys do that already. You guys?
Yeah.
You guys do?
Yeah, I figured my own way.
Good.
I try to help out.
Good stuff. How else do you feel, like those are some tips that I gave about supporting your wives or your partners. How do you guys feel you could support your wives in parenting or just in day-to-day?
Well, what you said, just give them a break, you know, once in a while. I take duties in the evenings. I work all day, and I put the kids down usually. You know, help out in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Give her the odd day off.
Yeah.
Today.
Yeah. And how does it change her mindset? How does it change her attitude? How does it change your relationship?
It's a refresh, a reset.
Yeah.
I think a big one is mothers judge themselves pretty tough.
Yeah.
So just supporting them by telling them they're doing a good job. That's all mothers judge themselves compared to other mothers.
Yeah.
And it's that emotional support.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great example actually. Yeah, because a lot of moms, they'll always want to know like, you know, like how can I be a better mom, or how come that mom's not stressed out like I am? How come that mom's house is so clean and ours is a mess? How come their marriage is so much better than our marriage? Why do we fight a lot and they're doing, right? But it's all a hoax. Every marriage that we have problems, right? My wife and me, we fight like almost every day, and that's just, it's almost a healthy marriage if we're fighting. If it was always like just lovey-dovey and there was no fighting, it would be almost an illusion, right? Fantasy, absolutely. So I think it's really important to just not look at like Facebook or social media as the examples of perfection, because you look at the social media marriage and relationships and you all just see the good stuff, perfection. But the reality is, like those who are married, no, it's not like that, right? It's tough. So that's my number one advice is really about supporting your wife, your partner. My second bit of advice or tips for new dads. I just want to wait till that.
Right now, at the main stage, there is going to be something very exciting. The Cloverdale Black Belt Academy is here, and we have some amazing ninjas here who are going to show you some clever skills like cord breaking and self-defense. It's going to be really exciting, and I don't think you want to miss it, everyone. So please, come on over to the main stage, because in just a few moments, they are going to do a wonderful demonstration. So, come on over and we'll see you in a moment.
Okay, yeah, so the second bit of advice would be to spend quality time with your kids. And this is what you guys mentioned, right, when I asked you what's your favorite memories. And you mentioned about the fact that, you know, your dad was quite busy, right? And you didn't have those strong memories of just the time with you and your dad, right? And same with me, I share my story, right? Didn't have many strong memories of my dad, and that really formed my, you know, identity, like I talked about the brokenness and all. And I think when we grow up, it's really about looking back and saying, what were the strong memories, right? The childhood memories, and it's usually those times, like the sports games or like the arts and crafts, and, you know, like maybe the dance recitals, the graduation things, the school events, right? And you hear this over and over, and I find this quite a bit when I just talk to parents in general, especially with the father figure. Our dads were really good, or they were okay, but they weren't there for us. And that's a common thing I find. Dads weren't there for their kids, and I think you guys are being shining examples of dads who are there for your kids. So I just want to give you guys a round of applause for being there for your kids. And this is what I was going to say too about being quality time, is that usually men, we're the providers, right? Traditionally, we've been the providers and protectors, but that's usually financial provision, but I was going to really emphasize the need for time provision. And as men, it's not really natural just to hang out with our kids, right? Usually when we want to do something with them, right? We want to do activity with them, we want to take them somewhere, we want to do a road trip, we want to go camping with them. So it's more task-oriented rather than relational-oriented. Because again, I don't think it comes naturally to us men. I know it doesn't come naturally to me just to hang out with my kids without doing anything. And I'm working on it, you know, I'm working on just the fact that putting down my cell phone, turning off the TV, turning off the computer, and fully 100% devoted, undivided attention to Ryan and Rian, my two kids. And I find it tough because there's so much distraction. Sometimes I get home from my busy day and I'm just so tired. And I'm focused on like I need to eat, I need to rest, I need to check my social media, I need to check my email, or at night I need to hang with my kids. So I hope you'll come to that conclusion too, that you need to spend the quality time with your kids. And the last tip number 3, is speak words of affirmation to your kids. So it's the 3 S's. First was spending quality time. Supporting your wife, spending quality time, and speaking words of affirmation. It's really important for us dads to speak into their life. Like even to our daughters. You guys both have daughters? So even telling her you're beautiful, you're a princess, you're perfect just the way you are. I love you, daddy loves you, right? Those things are going to really form her identity as a woman. So when she grows up, she's not going to see that in boyfriends or in friends. And you know, a lot of girls, again, there's insecurity, right? They want to look up to like the role models, like celebrities, like Paris Hilton and all, right? But what kind of role models are those? And then that's why they might dress inappropriately, or they might just get boyfriends early, right? And they're looking for validation ultimately, either from celebrities or from their peers, etc. So I think it's really important that we, as men, as dads, validate our daughters. And my son just almost looks like he's crashing. Look at that. He's crashing. Never happened to me. He fell asleep while I'm talking. Maybe I just have a soothing sound, so putting him to sleep. So it's really important for us to validate our daughters, like I said, right? But it's really important for us to validate our sons too, because where are they going to find out what it means to be a man? Hopefully it's not from just a Canucks or from like the latest Hollywood actors, or from like gangs, or even from like people in school. Because again, if we don't have the dad figure, that's what men do. They seek validation, and that's why sometimes they join gangs. That's why they pick up smoking or drugs or even drinking, right? Joining sports teams, that's a form of validation too, to some degree. But I'm not saying there's anything wrong with sports or watching a Canucks or anything, but ultimately the validation, the sense of security, the sense of love, the sense of harmony has to come from family, right? Family is really the building block for the identities. And that's one of my arguments too, that we kind of know the role of moms, right? They're the nurturers, they're the ones like taking care of them in terms of nursing them, etc. But the dad's role isn't as well defined. Like I was going to ask you guys, what do you guys think the dad's role is really? What's our role in parenting?
Difficult to define. That's difficult to define.
Exactly. What are your thoughts? What do you guys think?
Role model. Role model. Set a good example. Yep. And what you were saying is words of affirmation. I do it every day.
Awesome. Good work. Yeah, and even simple things like I love you, right?
Maybe I'm doing it too much.
It has to come from a place of sincerity.
I tell her she's beautiful every day, right? Yeah. I don't want her to get big head or
I think the danger is not in too much, it's in too little.
I think the biggest fear of that is that she's going to just not hear it.
It'll kind of go into one ear.
So much. Basically ignores me when I say it.
How old is she? And she's still like, does she respond back saying I love you too, daddy, or?
Yeah.
She does. But you're saying it might become almost like routine, like it becomes almost empty words.
But it's still important. I'll keep it up.
Yeah. I think it's more, not just the words themselves, it's more about the heart behind those words, right? When you're saying I love you, is there some emotion attached to those words? Yeah. Or is it just words? Because sometimes we just say, I love you, honey, to your wife or your partner, right? But sometimes we really say, I love you, and I'm so glad you're here for me, I'm glad you're supporting me, right? There's a difference. And obviously we say, I love you to everything. We say, I love you to, not I love you, but like I love chocolate, or I love Hawaii, or I love the sun, or I love sports, I love the Canucks, right? So the word love itself can be kind of watered down. But I think, again, if you attach emotion to the words, it's more powerful. So those were some of my tips. There's so many other tips I have in the books, you'll get to read it. And I basically interview the 100 dads, and every chapter is one page. And then I have a little nugget of wisdom. So the first nugget of wisdom was, for example, listen to your wife. That's what the dad told me, just listen to your wife. Another dad said, how do you spell love to kids? How do you spell love to kids? It's 4 letters, T-I-M-E. Time, that's how you spell love, right? So there's a whole bunch of other things. Do you have any questions about, how you guys can be better dads, or if you want to share any of your struggles or challenges? Good. Yeah. I was going to ask you guys maybe, how do you guys find, this is my challenge, how do you find the work-life balance? How do you guys be strong in your work? How do you be strong in your marriage? And then how do you be strong as a dad? Any thoughts around that?
Time. Work-wise is tough. Yes, got to travel quite a bit for my job. So then you go away for 4 days and you come back and you realize that your family survives just fine without you. It's a bit of a blow to your ego. You think you're needed.
Right.
The other one I was struggling with last week is my daughter goes into first day of kindergarten. I suddenly realized I want to be part of her education, but your wife kind of takes that role on where she takes her to kindergarten. So it's a tough one. You want to be part of their education. You want to have help with the homework. Yeah, so, exactly. You want to meet the teacher. You want to, but you don't want to overstep. I met the teacher last week. Oh yeah? Yeah, it's kind of a weird balance of, I want to be part of it, but I don't want to overstep my wife's role too.
Yeah, and it's the same with our family. Like usually my wife's making those decisions about what activities to put our kids in, what school, etc. But I think we can have input into it too, right?
Yeah.
And I think, like you said, we can also go to the interviews and we can be involved to as much a degree as possible. And every family is different, right? The way you interact with your wife and the way you guys make decisions might be totally different than him, totally different than me. But I think the thing that's common is the fact that we need to be involved to some degree in those major decisions. Right? So yeah, that was my talk today. Hopefully you got some insights and remember those tips, really. You remember them? Let's hear them. Number 1.
SSS.
What's number 1?
Anytime, it's supporting your wife.
Support your wife, number 1.
Anytime. Sharing work after the house.
Yeah, those are the 3 S's. And I think the other thing I'll really close off with is the need for you and your wife to have a strong bond, right? Because the kids are going to ultimately learn relationships from the way you guys interact with your wife. And how you guys interact with them. That's where they're going to form their whole basis of relationships, right? With their friends, with their future boyfriends or girlfriends, with their future partners, with their future kids, right? So one of the quotes I created for myself is, the best gift we can leave our children is a happy marriage. They need that. They need to see that. And there's so many divorces. There's so many unhappy marriages. There's some marriages that just functional. They stay together for the sake of these guys, but there's dysfunction within the relationship, right? And the kids can know it. They know it. Like when me and my wife fight, my daughter, like the last time we fought was last night, and my daughter went to my wife and said, "Why are you unhappy, mommy? Why are you unhappy?" and then it looked like she was over it, so she's like, "Are you happy, mommy? Are you happy, mommy?" Because they notice that, right? And then why is daddy sad or something, right? They'll notice that. And I think it's really important to build that peace, right? And even when you're fighting, do it peacefully so you're not swearing and yelling in front of them, right? So yeah, that's it, and I want to give you guys both books for showing up, and thanks, and thanks for showing up, and also I wish you the best in your journey as dad.